Hello Internet and Happy New Year! Welcome to January 2023 and welcome to my brand new YouTube channel. What? Welcome to the Mixtape Collective. My name is Ketty. I am a professional classical singer and a musical entrepreneur creating new spaces in classical singing. I'm so glad you're here. We do not make New Year's resolutions in this house, just not that type of game. I don't really believe in that and that we can magically change and upgrade ourselves just because the Gregorian calendar has switched over to January 1st. But it does feel like an auspicious time to start something new and to start sharing my work publicly with the internet. As a singer, so many people are always asking me, what's next on my calendar? Where can they hear me? Where can they see the projects that I'm producing from my company? When have I been cast in an opera? What am I thinking about? What am I working on? What is my rehearsal process like? And I've never had a good way to communicate that. So I'm starting this YouTube channel as a living archive of everything cool that's happening in live vocal music performance here in the year 2023. I am based in Washington, D.C., so this will be a slice of life of what I'm experiencing both as a performer, as an audience member, and also as a producer of classical music events. Today's video comes to you in 4 parts. I'm calling it Planuary. I want to talk about the different types of art and music that I want to see this month, want to experience in person. I've had COVID-19 for a couple weeks, which has been a huge bummer. So I'm very excited to go back out into the world again and hear some live performances, go to some art galleries, just zip around the city and be back in the game. I also want to talk about the books I want to read this year because I'm always excited about that. I also want to talk about some upcoming goals for my company, Mixtape Recital Series, that I founded myself a few years ago and is doing really cool stuff. And I want to talk about some general artistic goals for myself in terms of what I have planned for January. So welcome to Planuary. Part 1, art and music that I want to experience in January. As I've mentioned, I've had COVID-19 for a week now and I have not been feeling very well. So I am super excited once I'm better to get back out into the world and experience some art in person. I am determined to finally go to the Glenstone Museum, which is located in Potomac, Maryland, not too far from where I live in Washington, D.C. This place is mostly contemporary art and it has an outdoor sculpture garden, but I've never been there. I've had multiple plans to go that have gotten canceled. So I'm gonna rally a friend to go with me and just go enjoy that in person. We're having some unseasonably warm weather here in Washington, D.C. in January, so I think that would be a nice way to spend an afternoon. Operas that I'm determined to hear in person this month. I think all of these are happening in the same weekend, so that might be a vlog of trying to go to as many shows as possible on the same weekend in the middle of January. First up, Maryland Lyric Opera is doing a performance of Falstaff on their Verdi season, and I'm super excited to go see that. I'm going to try to snag a ticket from some friends who are in the chorus. The Kennedy Center also has some one-acts that are being premiered on January 21st. I know somebody who was one of the librettists in that group, and it sounds really interesting to perform 3 brand new works, short pieces back to back in a single evening. So I'm psyched to go hear what those are about. Third and finally, the Kennedy Center is also doing a brand new play called The Passion of Mary Cardwell Dawson, which is about the founding of the first Black American opera company. Originally in the 1940s, Mary Cardwell Dawson was a voice teacher here in the Washington, D.C. area, and she established this company, and it was supposed to start on a floating barge on the Potomac River in order to avoid racially segregated performance venues. And it seems like something happens with the weather and she gets pushed to perform this new work inside. So this is a historic play based on a true story starring Denise Graves, who is of course a local opera legend in these parts. Again, I think all three of those productions are happening in the same weekend, so we'll see if I make it to them all, but these are the ones that really piqued my interest here in January. Part 2, books I want to read. I've always been such a huge book nerd ever since I was little. It's just been such a deep part of my life and part of my family, and I love books. I love talking about books, so let's go. Last year on my story graph, I think I finished 87 books was my total, and I was just so jazzed about that after setting my goal for 75 that I started pulling together a TBR for January. So let's talk about it. And I was so excited about Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel that I read it in one sitting on December 30th. So this became my final book of 2022, and I loved it. Alas, I cannot include it on a January 2023 TBR because it's already over. But I am also excited for The Need by Helen Phillips. Helen Phillips has been one of my favorite authors for a really long time, since a friend gave me one of her books in, gosh, 2006. She writes weird, wonderful, spooky short fiction of all different flavors. And this is a semi-horror novel, domestic thriller kind of deal. And I bought it the day it came out. And then I read the first 10 pages and I got scared and I didn't finish it. So I'm sorry, Helen. I'm a huge fan, and I feel like I can't call myself a huge fan until I catch up on your most recent work. I just can't read this book when I'm home alone. And I've had COVID for a few weeks, and part of my convalescence was watching a lot of YouTube videos. I've been a YouTube girl since I was in college. You know, there are so many creators that I've followed for so long. One of the original content creators that I followed for a long time was Lindsay Ellis, and I never actually read her sci-fi novel Axiom's End, which came out a couple years ago. The sequel is also out, but I just never got to this, and I'm super excited. And finally, I was at a used bookstore with a friend a couple months ago, and I came across this, which is a 1998 book written by a journalist whose name is Manuela Helterhoff, who I believe was a Pulitzer Prize winner and in journalism, and wrote for the New York Times. But this is about Cecilia Bartoli singing La Cenerentola by Rossini at the Metropolitan Opera in the late 90s, and the various operatic characters who are on stage at that time. So it's Tebaldi, it's Pavarotti, it's young Renee Fleming kind of coming up in the world, and it follows Cecilia as she prepares for the production. I've skimmed through this, and it seems catty. It seems very snarky and gossipy. So part of me thinks, oh, that'll be fun. And part of me is determined to hate it because I think classical singers get such a weird reputation as divas, and we love talking about the glamour and the drama when actually singers work incredibly hard and it's a very difficult lifestyle to maintain, even for people who are some of the most famous names in our field. So I'm a little bit determined to read this and be mad and say, like, this is why we need transparency when we talk about classical singing, because I think this is going to be kind of sensationalist and catty. So jury's out. We'll see how it goes. But I'm hoping a little bit in my heart of hearts that this will drive me to keep making better environments for classical singers, because I don't think this is the only way that we live and the only way that we should be represented in books and media. So, little edge of a personal vendetta here. We'll see how it goes. I'll update you at the end of the month. Part 3, company projects. I am the creator and founder and artistic director of Mixtape Recital Series. We are a bespoke production company that puts on art song recitals. We meet singers where they are, they propose incredible projects, and then we move heaven and earth to make it happen. I arrange funding, I arrange collaborators, I arrange venues, I work on audience relations, I manage box offices, everything that singers could need to produce incredible song recitals that are unique and personal to them, exactly when they're ready to perform. This is a really fun company. This is something I'm incredibly proud of, and I consider it my life's work right now because it's consuming my every waking thought, and I love it so much, and I think we're doing something really, really cool. So the projects that I want to get done in January. First of all, I owe people feedback letters from our 2023 applicants. These people submitted by the end of October. My whole panel reviewed all of the wonderful applications that we received, and we had a conference about it in December. And then unfortunately I got really sick, so I didn't get to wrap up the end of my year the way I wanted to. And part of this artistic process of welcoming singers and having them trust us with their very personal projects is that my company actually writes feedback letters to every individual applicant. So it's a long process that takes a lot out of me, but I do it because I care and I do it because it matters. So I do need to dedicate some time to that in January. That is project priority number 1. Project number 2, I need to get our annual report out into the world. I worked really hard on this in November and December to pull together statistics of how our applications went, what our audiences were like, what our box office revenue was, all of our expenses for the year. And I really see this annual report as a snapshot in time. The work on this is done. I just need to publish it. Get it out in the world. Get myself out in the world, honestly. Project number 3, we are producing an event this month. Kristin Hagen is a fantastic contralto in the Boston region. We awarded her a fellowship last year. So we have her mixtape recital happening at the end of January, Saturday the 28th, in Arlington, Massachusetts. Details will be down below if that's something you're interested in. She also has some really wonderful poetry readings that she'll be doing between songs. We're setting this up as a vigil style concert, so the atmosphere will be very meditative and reflective. People are welcome to sit and listen. They're welcome to meditate. We'll have dim lighting and beautiful set dressing to evoke the mood of a spiritual experience as we reflect on not only the closing of last year, but the closing of cycles of trauma that women have gone through. It should be a very beautiful and powerful evening, and I hope you can join us. Finally, the 4th company project for this month is prepping our next event, which is happening in March. We're doing a collaboration with the Atlas Performing Arts Center downtown in Washington, D.C. They host an annual festival of local artists called Intersections. And Intersections 2023 will be taking place in February and March. I'm so excited that Mixtape got a spot on the festival, and I am curating a concert event for that, featuring several of our local artists collaborating together with music and poetry in a live theater fusion event, which should be really fun. And I think it's a good preview of who we are and what we do for new audiences. Last but not least, part 4, some personal plans. It's a new year, and now that the Christmas rush is over, it's time to start singing again. As soon as this wheezy cough goes away, I'm very excited to go back into the practice room. I only have 1 audition scheduled so far this month, so that should be relatively quiet, and this is a good time of year in the middle of winter to really buckle down and brush up my repertoire, so I'm ready for more auditions in the spring. My other goal for January is to apply to 2 artist residencies whose listings that I found online. I don't feel incredibly qualified or prepared to do that, but I think 2023 is a year for recklessly believing in yourself and trying new stuff. So I'm going to be submitting some of my quilts to hopefully earn a spot in an artist residency where I can make more of them, because I think they're awesome. And I love also having physical art that you can snuggle with, as well as vocal music for concert halls. I don't know, we'll see how this goes. We'll see what the new year brings us, but I'm gonna be cozy, and I hope that you are enjoying your January 1st and prioritizing yourself this year. We're just gonna try a bunch of stuff and see what happens. Let's go. Let's go. So thanks for joining the Mixtape Collective. I look forward to seeing you around the internet somewhere or at a concert in real life. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.